Well, hello, everybody. It is Thursday where we do the roundup of all the craziest AI news of the week. And there's no video like this because, a lot of people do videos and they'll spend 25 minutes talking about one thing. I'll spend less time than that talking about 50 different things that you all need to know. And AI is no longer a tool. It has changed and progress is exploding exponentially. Like each week, there's so much new stuff. Capabilities are doubling every few weeks as well. And we're going to break it all down. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat as well. And never financial advice. It doesn't matter. Who cares? And thank you to Patreon too from Stephen H. I've been watching your YouTube videos for a while now and I'm ready to take next step and join your Patreon. Woohoo. Thank you for joining the team. You'll learn a lot. It's fun. Even during these kind of choppy sideways times, we try and stay on top of everything. And of course, don't forget, there's a whole playlist here. Once a week, cover everything that's happening in AI. Don't forget, you can subscribe to that if you're not interested in anything else. It covers everything. I'm going to begin with AI and LLMs because there's a lot of news here today. First of all, Anthropic. They raised another $30 billion at $380 billion valuation. Their valuation keeps going up. Literally, I don't know what it was, a year and a half ago, it was worth a tiny, tiny fraction of that. And that is their biggest funding round yet, more than double the prior one, which is only a few months back. And their focus is on, of course, scaling and coding and the enterprise. And these guys are killing it, killing it. There's three players in town. There's Anthropic, there's Google Gemini, and there's, of course, Grok XAI. That's it. There's another player. We'll talk about them later too, but they're trying different things. And remember, the world is now multi-agent. This is another important thing here from Anthropic at 4.6 and even Grok 4.20. You'll notice the whole theme is multi-agent, where multiple groups work on the same project at the same time. And the 4.6 from Claude, if you're into coding with their 1 million token context, it is completely, apparently, mind-blowing. So watch for this. And it's funny to see people on the world stage and the animosity between different players. I thought this photo today was very interesting. There is an AI summit in India. Shout out to anybody in India. Drop a comment if you're in India. I'd love to know. But this is a whole bunch of leaders. World leader, the guy in the yellow shirt, is Amodei. We had the UN secretary who's there. You had Pichai, Altman, Amodei, Macron, all in New Delhi to talk about AI and governments and all that stuff. But the most important thing here is that Sam Altman holding Modi's hand, and it just gets really confusing. I gotta get this straight. Sam Altman is holding Modi's hand, and he's beside Amodei from Anthropic, who refuses to hold his hand. I thought, you can't make that stuff up. They don't like each other at all. Animosity is crazy. Nobody seems to like this Altman guy. Not sure why. And speaking of money raising, not just Anthropic, but OpenAI is about to raise $100 billion at $830 billion valuation. And that 1.7x in the last 12 weeks. Again, this is where it gets a bit nutty. Let's look at some numbers for a second, just to put things in perspective. This is Meta on the left and OpenAI on the right. Meta is worth 1.6 trillion. OpenAI will be worth more than half of that at 830 billion. Meta has 4 billion daily users and makes over 200 billion in revenue. OpenAI has about 10 billion in revenue, shrinking 800 million users because all the other guys are taking market share from OpenAI and ChatGPT because people realize it's no good compared to the other ones. And not only are users shrinking, but they're burning 20 billion cash a year. A lot of cash. Anyhow, if you had to bet on one of these two, and this is kind of the sad thing about IPOs as well, they build all of this up because they know an IPO is coming. So it's easy to fill around because they know they can exit after the IPO. And that's when retail comes in last to fill their bags. And then it's too late. If you're not into these things before the IPO, don't touch them at all, ever. And speaking of Meta still, NVIDIA is planning to sell estimated, allegedly, about $50 billion in chips to Meta. Again, people say, oh, NVIDIA is a bubble. No. And they'll be selling Blackwells and then maybe later Rubens. and 50 billion a year, maybe even more. I don't know. The capex for Meta, I think this year, if I recall, 160 billion or something. So 50 billion of that is on NVIDIA chips, maybe estimating here. And back to OpenAI too, they are beginning their ad campaign because they're desperate for money. So it's funny, you've got the very, very disparate valuations between Meta and OpenAI. Meta makes all their money from advertising, and now OpenAI is trying to do the same thing. So you have Meta failing at AI, but they're going to try again and again and again. Then you have OpenAI trying to become Meta, also failing at AI, but trying to become more of an advertising vehicle. And I don't know how this is going to end up. It's not good. Winners take most. This is the way of the world. There's no room for 4 winners. There might be room for 2, maybe 3. That's it. Now, back to AI and LLMs. This is how AI's brainpower doubles every 4 to 7 months. A cool little chart just showing the speed. And imagine if your intelligence could double 2 or 3 times a year, well, that's exactly what's happening with AI. The pace, the rate of change of learning is insane. So in the early days of OpenAI, etc., it could think for about 15 seconds. And then in 2025, maybe it could think for 8 hours. And then in 2026, it could think for maybe a day, a couple of days. And then by 2027, they'd be able to think for 2 weeks and just do one-shot projects with a ton of compute power over a very long period of time to replicate things like web browsers and Salesforce.com and other SaaS software. We'll get to SaaS software in a minute too, because that's still happening as well. But again, this asteroid that's hitting this Earth is hitting really fast. The rate of change, I have to use that term again, it is phenomenal and also terrifying at the same time. And there is a thing called AI Burnout, which is a Harvard business study, Harvard Business Review. And people thought, oh, well, with AI, it would be easier to do more. Sort of, but it's actually creating more work and more work at a much higher pace. And this is a study of about 200 people at a US workplace. And it found that AI had consistently intensified work, increased stress loads, workloads, etc. And time management is out the window. In fact, I think it was Peter Diamandis from Moonshots that said, I think he's a MIT or Harvard guy, but he said he's never worked so hard in his life. And he's in his 60s, but he's also excited to work on this. So be careful of the AI burnout over there. This is like, if you are inquisitive, you are like a kid in a candy store and it'll drive you crazy. Anyway, other crazy stuff is happening on the AI front. A lot of AI news this week. One line, one shot movies. Let's also say a moment of silence for Hollywood. We don't care about Hollywood. Hollywood is just nothing but producing trash for years. So it's time. But now there's software coming out of different markets in the world where this one's called Seedance. It's funny because there used to be Sundance, I think, is a movie festival. They called it Seedance. I don't know if it's related, but I think it's kind of funny. But Seedance 2.0, you can do a one-line prompt and you can get a Hollywood quality multi-scene video in seconds for pennies or maybe even for free. I think the free trial is you want to make your own little movie. But just think about what that does to Hollywood and all the screenwriters and all the people that operate cameras and sound engineers and lighting. And it's shocking what's happening. And you think of, I remember years ago, there was a company that did, they wanted to create a TV ad and they spent millions and the ad was garbage. But now, and it was only like a 30-second clip. Now you can just create $1 million ad and make it better, good, in seconds for free. Again, just an example of maybe the abundance, but also the disruption that's coming. I have to stress that you get ready. It's already here. And finally, this should be actually nearly a meme du jour, but the United Nations approves a 40-member scientific AI panel to oversee AI and focus on AI safety, etc. The panel includes, I think the US was against it, but the panel, I think it included somebody from Iran and somebody from Russia and all these so-called AI experts. But no, they're more like control experts, not AI experts, but if the United Nations is involved in something, it's not going to be a good outcome. Anyhow, moving on to robotaxi, because a lot of developments there too. First of all, Tesla FSD. Remember, FSD in a Tesla is a robot on wheels. And as some people call it, baby AGI2. It's phenomenal. It's sentient. It's incredible, even in very bad weather like we're having right now. Snow and stuff. Be careful out there. Anyway, they've racked up 8 billion miles on FSD supervised. Now, the crazy thing about that is just 7 weeks ago, because I track this, they just hit 7 billion miles, which means they're going up 1 billion miles every 7 weeks. But the pace at which FSD is being used is accelerating because it gets better and better every day with every patch, every update that gets, over the air updated to your car. So by summer, we were expecting to 10 billion. Now it'll be, I think, May 16th. So real soon. And the reason that 10 billion FSD or 10 billion miles of learning, etc., is important because Tesla learns from that. Of course, then they learn from non-FSD miles too, because it's got shadow mode operating in the cars. But the point is, Elon did say once they get 10 billion, that it could be when we launch unsupervised, which is actually what's happening anyway with robotaxis in Austin. They're unsupervised. So this is a big milestone. And we're going to get there by May 16th, which is, call it, 12 weeks away. Wild. Anyway, FSD as well is now, this is a big safety report published by Tesla. It's now 8 times safer than humans. And if you look at the statistics, basically with FSD, your probability of a crash every million miles is 0.19 crashes per million miles. If you're a human, you'll crash twice every million miles. But, and that means serious crash when police are involved and insurance companies, people are injured and stuff. And a lot of people prang their cars all the time. So they're not even reported. But anyway, FSD is safe. So if you have a loved one and you want them to be safe, get them FSD. That's FSD advice right there. And also FCC, which is the Federal Communications Council or something like that, they granted Tesla an allowance to use ultra-wideband radio technology because that's what they use for the wireless charging system that will be used for the Cybercab. Woohoo! You probably ask yourself, what the hell has charging got to do with the FCC? Well, it's a radio wave. It's a signal, very low power, high power charging, but very low power signal. And it only turns on when the car is parked above it. And it only works at very short range, so it doesn't interfere with other signals. And that's why it's allowed. So they just got that approved. But speaking of charging, again, Uber. This is funny. This is what we should call the fingers in the pie segment. Shout out to Jeff Lutz. The Uber cope continues. Uber is going to invest $100 million in autonomous vehicle charging amid their robotaxi push. Remember, Uber don't have a robotaxi. Their partner is a charging company called EVgo. If you ever go to an EVgo, it probably doesn't work. The terrible, terrible chargers. But they have 20 partners. Not only partners for charging, partners with Waymo and who knows, Zoox and who else. We ride car makers. Partners. They forget the magic of succeeding in the age of AGI, and that is complete vertical integration. That's it. If you're not vertically integrated, you're not going to make it. This is all, in my opinion, a waste. And they might be able to make some money for it for a few years, but once these puppies start getting spat out of the Austin, Texas garage, factory, not garage, it'll be mind-blowing. Anyway, let's get back to even bigger than autonomous transportation, humanoid robots. We saw this tweet from Elon Musk a couple of days ago, and he said, humanoids, it will begin to transform things in 2027, be obvious in 2028, and have a massive impact by 2029. Massive impact. By the way, thank you once again to the mods and chats, and Mortello, DBF, and Nick M. Appreciate you guys. But again, it takes time to ramp these things. The Fremont factory is going to be able to get to 1 million units, 1 million humanoid robots. And then Texas will get to 10 million. But it'll be a while before they actually start impacting your life. But they will be impacting Tesla's life first. Then Tesla partners like SpaceX, like suppliers second. Then maybe you might get one in your home. We'll talk more about that in a minute too. but it's going to be crazy. And a big surprise, by the way, that I forgot to mention is Elon did say this week that cybercabs could be purchased for under $30,000, and everyone wants to know, how do I get some? And how many do I need to retire? We'll get to that as well in another video at another time. And also, this goes back to the importance of humanoid robots. Midjourney's founder calculates that 5 million humanoids could build Manhattan in 6 months. 6 months. Think about that. 6 months. Now, imagine what the world looks like when we have 10 billion of them by 2045 or 2040 or 2035, somewhere in that time frame. It could be crazy. Elon Musk did predict that there would be one humanoid for every human on Earth, but there's going to be a lot more different types of robots as well out there. Now, of course, people say, as I can hear the contractors say, no, you can't rebuild Manhattan in 6 months because the roadways and the materials and all that type of stuff. I know, but anyway, Midjourney, quote, very important. And remember, it's all about the hands. Never forget the hands. There's 3 things that matter with a robot. The ability to manufacture, just like rebuild Manhattan, of course. The hands, of which I slipped in the ice and smashed my left hand today, so it's not working. And the brain, XAI, SpaceX, Tesla, brain, they have the 3 key components. But the most important thing from this article is they talk about the 50 actuator precision. Tesla Optimus Gen 3 hands reveal 50 actuator precision leap, which is so important. And the reason that's important in this little table here is, again, it is designed around the human blueprint for exactly this reason. The forearm power, the wrist transmission, maximum strength, hand, etc. This is very, very important because all the other robot companies built a robot with a fitty little hand. But if you look at the human anatomy, not autonomy, getting my anatomy and my autonomy all confused. All the power in your hand is in your forearm. Very important. And this is why it's key. I'll get to the point I'm trying to make here, but there'll be 25 actuators per hand, 50 in total. And the engineering complexity is massive. In fact, I think it was Kathy Wood said, the humanoid robot is like hundreds of thousands of times, 200,000 times more complex than an autonomous vehicle, which is in itself extremely difficult to do. But the reason I talk about the hand is because a lot of people are very excited about, oh, everybody has robots. Well, this is Figure AI. Now, if you look carefully, that's the CEO of Figure AI. If you look carefully at the hand on this thing, there is no connection to the wrist, okay? And the power belongs in the wrist and the forearm, okay? The hand is the business end that needs to be light and precise, and the strength has to be, the physics and the biology, etc., has to be in the forearm. And this image perfectly spotlights, in my opinion, why they are focusing on robots to empty dishwashers in the home. It's a retail solution. It even says it on their website. It says, let me see if I can read that up. The future of home help is here. So they're skipping the entire need to do commercial robots, but more domestic robots, which is very clever of them to be focused. So not knocking them at all, but it just shows you the importance of all these little robot companies. And you see all the Chinese robots, etc. Same deal. Hand is a hand, when really, or in this case, it's just like one of those Lego. You see the little Lego things, and the hand is just like a little round thing. Well, that's what they have. They got Lego hands. They're never going to be able to perform surgery or work in a factory and stuff. However, these are the Chinese humanoids, and they did a spring festival thing, New Year, Year of the Horse, whatever, from Unitree, etc. And they were very impressive in terms of their comedy skits and their ability to dance, move, and do flips and karate and everything else. So these things could be extremely good war machines. In fact, one of our teammates here was worried. She said, could those robots, we're working on this today, she's like, could those robots go to war? And I said, yes. Unfortunately, yes. Anyway, on to the Mag 7. A lot of ground to cover, but we're nearly done. Hang on. Music, not just movies. Music is also being and it doesn't matter because no good music has been produced, in my opinion, since the 80s or 90s. You know, guess me, I kind of like the older stuff, even the 70s. But so we're not missing much. But the point is, a huge percentage of music today is already built by AI. In fact, some by Spotify or something else, 40% of new track uploads or AI generated. But this is from Lyria 3 from Google Gemini. And now you can just create music. And again, one shot. You can write a sentence, or mash up an album or whatever. And you can generate 30 tracks from a text prompt or even an image. You can now build a song around an image. Say, make me a love song around this picture of this beautiful flower with this beautiful girl or boy or whatever you want in the countryside. Boom, it's done. And it'll do it in 8 languages: Hindi, Spanish, English, Japanese, German, I think, Spanish, French, I'm not sure. Anyway, if you like music and you want to, and you're looking for good music because you haven't got any in decades, go build your own. There you go, from a picture. And then the SAASpocalypse continues. People are worried, why is the market so sucky? Why is everything down? Well, when the market falls down, everything falls down. But there is $1 trillion plus sell-off in software and data stocks. And it continues. This is the software index compared to the QQQ. And basically, it's over the last 5 years. It's down 43% over the last 5 years, but nearly 25% of that dip happened just this year. It's been absolutely trillions of dollars, boom, eviscerated because of Anthropic and AI. So if you think it's not affecting things or it's a bubble, that's another data point where it's not. And Microsoft, shout out to Microsoft. This is a chart of Microsoft over the last 6 years. And it has actually underperformed the S&P 500 if you look at those 2 data points. Now, you could always cherry pick data points, but the point is it hasn't gone nowhere for a long time. And it did have some very nice big spikes way back in, July 2024. Another nice spike in July 2025. Interesting pattern there. Let's go back to July 2022. That was a little pop there too. July 2023, yeah. So, funny. For some reason, Microsoft likes to pop in July. I just noticed that right now. So maybe there's a little trade there. Get into it maybe March, April. Wait till July. Sell it. Get out before August. Anyhow, moving on. Apple. We're in the Mag 7 category still. And these guys are going all in on wearables. They've outsourced their AI to, Google, to do their Siri, which never worked for years. Although you can't say, hey, Siri, remind me to let the dog out in an hour. It'll do that. Kind of like the Alexa thing. Alexa's even better than Siri. But the Google Assistant is the best, in my opinion, for the home. But now they're going all in on wearables. And this means, imagine walking around with a little necklace that has a camera on it spying on everybody. Imagine if you saw somebody wearing one of those, you just run a million miles away. You don't want to be on video. Okay, first of all, glasses with them, we've seen that before. Meta's been doing that for years. And now I think they're putting cameras in the AirPods too. So you can in a stealthy way, spy on people. James Bond would be proud. Anyway, moving on to space. Let's see what's going on in space world. Not a lot of space news this week after the crazy space news over the last 6 weeks. But this is a TechCrunch deep dive, and they're looking at the economics of orbital AI are brutal. And they estimate it would take about $42 billion of investment just to put a gigawatt of data center capability in space. A gigawatt of orbital data center, again, would be at least 3 to 4 times the terrestrial equivalent. Difficult. However, Elon Musk and SpaceX have proven that they can put 10,000 satellites in space that have no electricity except for solar power, and they can handle all the radiation shielding and thermal management and the vacuum, etc. So Elon seems to think it's possible. I think it is possible, but I don't think it's coming next year or the year after or the year after that. I think it's 4 to 5 years away, maybe even later. And by then, it'll be cheaper to do. But it is an important thing that everybody thinks, we don't need to build data centers on Earth anymore. We're going to put them all in space. It's years out. And then the other impact of AI is good impact. It's longevity and cures for illnesses and other stuff like that. But a fun piece of news is there's some guy, his name is Brian Johnson. He said, we're launching our Immortals program. It's $1 million per year, and he has only 3 spots available. Interesting. Again, where they can, I guess, test your blood and make you do some exercises. But you can do that all yourself with that and save $1 million and invest it in the markets. In winning assets. Remember, be in the winning assets. That was kind of funny. But then there's a guy called Jeff Tang who's hilarious. He mocked him. I just signed up for Blueprint Immortal for $1 million a year. Because I use Klarna, I can make one payment per month for the next 1,000 years, interest-free. Again, he's mocking the, what is it, buy now, pay later stuff, which is very dangerous. Don't do that. If you can't afford something, don't buy it. Do not put it on the card, or do not put it on the Klarna or the buy now, pay later platform. But the other hilarious thing is that in that time, I'll be able to launch millions of OpenClaw wrappers, each one making $10,000 a month. And then I can exit for $2 million after just 24 hours. And still have lots of money without putting anything down on the Brian Johnson program. I just thought that was very funny. Anyway, speaking of very funny, meme du jour, shout out to Ocean JJ, who creates the best memes in the world. He said, in the year of the horse, be on the fastest horses. This is investment advice, but not necessarily to buy Tesla, but very important. The world is changing very, 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 very quickly. Very quickly. You got to be on the bleeding edge. Do not be in something legacy that will be disrupted and wiped out. And do not be in loser companies. Only be in the winning company. Stay smart, my friends. And thank you as well to Adam, Tesla, and Anjo, and Piper. The whole gang is here today. Sean D, T&D, Cypher Sniper, K8, and everybody else. You're all amazing. I hope you enjoyed that AI impact. And remember, I do want to stress one thing. AI is terrifying. But in Switzerland, we used to say, Hep the Sorg, which means grip the worry, grip the fear. Grip it. Don't be afraid of it. Lean into it. Embrace it. Use it. That's how you survive. Thanks all. Good night.